So cute.
So cute.
So cute and fluffy and just, I mean, I told her I could die now happily because I saw that picture of them, the puppy and the older puppy together. I couldn't.
I was like,
it was too much for me. Too much for my ovaries.
Give to me and let me nom on those little feet.
Yeah, it was a lot for me. Anyway, here we are. So,
are we center?
Yeah.
That's better.
Okay. Good. Alrighty.
All right. We talk about Audrey's puppy in the beginning.
Yes.
It's hysterical.
Okay, so here we are today. Well, welcome to Chit Chats, a totally unedited space where we break the cycle of what it means to be a woman together.
Beautiful. Oh, there it is. Emily, do you want to answer that?
Yeah. Hello? Yes. Yes, we are live. What are we talking about today? Oh, love versus lust. A very important topic. Thank you so much. Yes. Thank you so. Kisses. Bye-bye.
Tell the wife hello.
Oh, yes. Very nice.
Well, we're talking about love versus lust today, and it is a topic that is very near and dear to our hearts. We actually were just speaking with someone that has her own podcast, Mary Ellen, and it's called the Okayish Podcast, and she was talking about the difference between love versus lust.
But she put it in a really different way that I had actually never heard it before, this idea of it not even being love versus lust, but the idea of it being compassion love or companion love, rather, versus like passionate love. So passionate love versus companion love. And I was like, oh my God, I've never thought of it this way. It's something that I think about a lot, right? This love versus lust situation. It's something that Stephanie and I have spoken a lot about, because I think it does kind of grow and change as you develop and age. So like as I am now in a healthy, almost 6-year relationship with 3 years of marriage next week while we're filming this, I can honestly say that any relationship that I was in before was a lustful relationship. It was because I thought that person was really good looking and they gave me these butterflies, and that was kind of ill. And then once those butterflies faded, there was really nothing left of our relationship. You know, it was just based on those primal feelings. But after that went away, I was still willing to work with it, which is what companion love is, right? Once the butterflies are done, once that lustful phase is over, my great grandma Sally always used to say, you have to love somebody once the shine wears off. Super important, right? You know, so it's that companion love is the true love, because I also do not believe in soulmates. I have said this to my husband, so this won't be like a big news.
What?
101, Emily is saying there is no soulmates. But
the tabloids are going to go
exactly.
wild.
I'm going to see myself all over the place in supermarkets. I'm going to have to hide my face. But I do not believe in soulmates. I believe that you can be with a multitude of people and you can kind of choose who brings out the best in you, which I love that idea, right? Yeah. So there's multiple people for you. But that companion love is so amazing once you're in it, because it's, for me, my husband and I call each other our tree house. We're that safety net. And even though those butterflies may not be there anymore, I am telling you, I get infinitely more intimacy in a different way. Sex included, but like in a different way as well. I get to know that he's coming home to me every day. So that's kind of my belief and how I wanted to start off the conversation. Yeah. So now I'm going to swing it to you.
Yeah, well, and you brought up really good points. I feel that how we are raised as women is to believe the storybook,
Prince Charming,
fairy tale, sweep you off your feet, fireworks, butterflies. And there's a quote from a song that I love by Halsey, and she says, sometimes the warning signs feel like they're butterflies. And it was the first time I'd ever heard something and gone, oh, and it clicked with me, because in relationships I have been in, that really intense butterfly feeling, scientifically, as Mary Ellen, as she talks about it in her podcast, is that you're releasing the like feel good hormones.
Dopamine, right?
Yeah. I believe it's dopamine. And that's addictive. It's in studies, it is shown as strong as a drug. So you become really like, wow, this is a great feeling, and you become addicted to it. The problem is we're not educated about that it's okay if it fades, because then another chemical is released within the body, and if you go listen to that podcast, it'll explain all of it. But that turns into that companionship, and sometimes the lust can't translate. And so what you're finding is what Emily was talking about, is that she was willing to make it work, but because that hormone really wasn't there with the other person, it's a one-sided venture.
Yeah, so a one-sided relationship.
Right.
It's going to go nowhere, as I tell my kids. Communication and a relationship needs two-way street. You need a dialogue. If it's a one-way thing, get out. Go the one way and keep going.
Right.
Never, ever turn back and go the wrong way.
And I think it's important to note too, magazines, social media, we talk about this a lot. Songs, they perpetuate this idea of
lust.
All you want to do is get hot and heavy with somebody, and that's it. Or heartbreak.
And that's what love is, right?
Yeah.
That's what they're saying at the end of the day.
That's what love is.
That's what love is.
I don't feel that is what love is.
Yeah.
I think it's okay to have those things in a relationship, but when there is a lack of it there, it doesn't mean that you're in a bad relationship. Now, I want to make sure that I make it very clear that abuse is never tolerated. It's never okay. And that don't ever mistake abuse
for
love, for, oh, well, the butterflies really aren't there and we fight all the time, but, this is what companionship is. Understanding what red flags are and boundary pushing. Lord knows I've been in relationships, and so has Emily, where boundaries were crossed and abuse absolutely was present.
Gotta love some emotional abuse.
And that's not okay. So make sure that you are aware of those things. Do you find that we are seeing younger women flip that script? Or do you feel like that narrative is still the same of wait for your Prince Charming?
So, yes and no is what I'll say. Because, I have my nieces. So those are basically the people that I, kind of base my assumptions off of.
Right.
And, I remember this one time really clearly. I was watching my oldest niece, Scarlett. She must have been 4 at the time. And she was dressed up as Cinderella, and we were playing and singing, "One day my prince will come," and I was like, "One day yours will come too, Scarlett." And she looked at me and she was like, "I don't need a prince, Auntie M." And I was like, "Okay, you got it." So I think it's the parents' awareness of this thing that we're talking about too, and then perpetuating it on with their kids. So not everybody, right? Not every kid is going to be aware, because maybe not every parent is aware. So yes and no, because I'm still watching movies where love is being perpetuated by this butterfly feeling, by this, oh my God, this is my person feeling. So that's where we need to change the narrative on all of these big medias, right? On social media, if you're in a relationship, please, if you're posting pictures and you're happy, love it. I also post pictures literally once a year when I'm happy, but please.
I think if you're over posting though.
Yeah, or put an asterisk at the bottom and be like, we fight as well. Might be good, because other people are consuming that media, right? And they're like, wow, they must have the perfect relationship. I can tell you that fights will ensue, even if you're in a perfect relationship.
Correct. But also, too, right, when it comes to the social media thing, my partner and I mean, people have to ask me constantly if I'm still with my partner, to which I say yes. I just wasn't sure, I didn't notice on social media. I don't understand why that has become
the new thing.
The measure for a healthy relationship. I think that plays into, I notice that a lot of times couples who are very in hot and heavy, that oversharing sometimes on social media, it's like, oh, this is what I want. That's not always healthy. And so to look at those things, try to take the personal view of it out of the equation and look at it objectively.
Yeah.
Because you're going to see 9 times out of 10 it's to get likes, comments, subscribers. There was this whole social media thing with Tana Mojo and Jake.
You're talking about people that I don't know.
They're really big on the YouTube sphere, but it looked from the outside, looking in, you're like, oh my God, I love it. Hot, heavy, quick, fast. But also you have to remember there are 2 personalities that exist on the internet. So some of it was strategic. And we don't know these people personally, so we can only speculate on it. But I think it's important to always remember when you're seeing a personality on the internet, most of the time, what they are showing you has been highly edited by a team. And it's been thought out. Yeah. It's been planned. It's strategic. I watch YouTube channels where they're documenting their love story, and it's like nobody documents. You know what I mean? Like, no real life couples document stuff like this.
I have to say though, I do have a rose, because I'm staring at them. I do have a rose from each one of the bouquets that my husband has given me since the beginning of our relationship. I did it on a whim, and now I'm glad I did it, because now I have a bouquet of all 1 flower from each bouquet he's been given me, which makes me happy to look back and be like,
but that's fine.
Yeah.
I just think it's the lusty thing is so much more appealing.
Of course, which is why people cheat, right?
Oh, yeah.
And that's something that Mary Ellen brought up on her podcast, this idea of this lustful relationship. You want those butterflies back. So people are looking for that high, right? All of those endorphins. So they're like, maybe I'll cheat with this person because I'm not feeling this with this person anymore. So now I need
And they're
this
mistaking that rush of endorphins that are
for
the
love.
Dopamine hit for love. And it's really not. And I think that sometimes that's why communication is so important in relationships, period. And if you're not able to sit down with your partner and explain to them, I'm feeling unsatisfied in X, Y, and Z, how can we make this better? Then the relationship is going to very quickly fall apart.
Yeah. And like you said before too, right? It needs to be the 2-way street, like you were just talking about. So if there is some sort of obstacle in your path, are you willing to work on it together? Which therefore brings me to what I say to you all the time, right? From Gilmore Girls. Huge Gilmore Girls nerd over here. It's my only tattoo is on my foot, and it's from Gilmore Girls. It's from when Luke kisses Lorelai. Spoilers. I'm sorry if you are just starting that journey and I just ruined it for you. My bad. But you can either grow together or you can grow apart. And that's okay. That doesn't mean that you failed in whatever relationship that is, whether that be a friendship or a partner or a relationship with a parent, but you either grow together or you grow apart. You get to choose though, right? Those 2 people or whomever is in the relationship, however many people, you get to choose. Are you going to grow together or are you going to grow apart? Because everybody is constantly changing. I am a completely different person than the person that I was when I first got married 3 years ago. My husband is a completely different person than he was when we got married 3 years ago. But we choose to be together, to work on our relationship, to grow together, but to also grow individually as people, which is so huge and important. Your growing doesn't stop once you get in a relationship. It should just continue. You should still develop yourself.
Right.
So that's my own personal belief. What are yours? Like, what was your thought of love as a kid, and now what is it?
Well, I very much thought love was it's the fairy tale, right? Just like head over here, heels, butterflies, fireworks, all that. And as I've gotten older, I've realized that love isn't always toughing it out all the time. Love is being able to differentiate between someone who's worth having conversations with and worth quote unquote fighting with, and someone who throw in the towel. It's not going to work out. You're falling on deaf ears. It's the same problem over and over and over and over again. I think the biggest difference, especially in the relationship I'm in now, is when difficult times arise, I find that I don't want to run away. And I think that's an important thing to note in relationships is, and there are I'm going to do the flip side of this, but I think it's important to note that when you are feeling very confident and you don't feel like you have to run away, you know that the relationship is good, but maybe you've hit a bump. Likewise, if your partner wants to work it out with you and they are willing to make those changes and you acknowledge that they are, you guys are working together to make those changes, that's also important. At no point should it just be one-sided where you feel like you're the only one
putting in the effort.
Right. And if that is something that you've noticed time and time again, it's time to let it go. I will also tell a story. A girlfriend of mine had been dating this guy for I think she's coming up on 8 months, 9, so a long time. He still will not call her his girlfriend. And so she finally was like, I'm done. That's it. And my other friend was out with her and they were talking to someone at the bar and he was like, trying to get my one friend's number. And my friend goes, well, she's not single, but I am. And that was a really relieving moment because she was traveling to a different place, 6 hours away, to go see him all the time. And it's like, you can't even call her your girlfriend. And I had been in a relationship, a situationship like that.
Ooh, I love that.
I didn't come up with it, but it was a situationship.
I'm sad. I was trademarked right here.
I wish. But yeah, I was in for a year, and he kept saying things like, I kind of consider myself your boyfriend, but I don't feel the need to put labels. And after we broke up, a week later, he ended up finding someone else, and all the things he said he wasn't going to do with me, he did with her. So that's another thing to just remind yourself of is if somebody's really sure about you, they might have reservations, but you're going to know their intentions. Alternatively, if it happens really quick, like suspiciously fast, I would also red flag on that. So too long and too fast, no good. But if finding somebody who has that middle ground, that understanding, I want to get to know you, you get to know me, but they don't let it linger on too long. It just, 9 months, you don't want to call it crazy. Absolute lunacy to me.
Yeah, no, that's a big one for me.
And the only thing that was ever brought up was that the sex was great. Oh my God, we had so much sex. And I'm like, did you guys do anything else?
Yeah.
But that's all you're doing. There's
not much.
The relationship has no substance.
Yeah, the building blocks of that relationship are shallow. Maybe there's just a moat in that castle.
Because there's going to be times where you don't always want to be boinking each other, and you have
that's not going to be the situation all the time. Other things are going to have to come up.
Well, and right, and what are you guys going to talk about? Do you have common interests? Do you have the same values? Are you, and some people are just looking to hook up, and that's wonderful. I think it's great. But being honest about what it is that you're looking for, and especially understanding that just because somebody's really good in bed doesn't mean that they're going to be a good partner. And you can have a casual fling with someone, but then when feelings really start to get involved heavily, that's when you need to have a conversation. And then be willing to walk away if it's not the answer that you were looking for.
I like it. So then my question to you now is if you could go back in time, right? We always ask this question on the podcast, but I'm going to spin it a little bit. So instead of what advice would you give your 15-year-old self, I'm going to make it a bit more specific. Okay. What love advice would you give yourself? What relationship advice?
I would tell 15-year-old self?
Yeah, 15.
I would tell my 15-year-old self, not every person that you date is going to be forever. And you do not have to stick around if you are not happy. I had a tendency to really lose myself and define who I was because of my relationship. And that came from growing up to think that my place as a female in the world was to find someone, a man, to take care of me, to then marry me, for me to then provide children. And that was the thought that I had in my head. as I've gotten older, I have realized that it is not that way, and that it's okay to date, it's okay to experiment, and not fall madly, deeply in love with every single person you're with. And that if you are feeling unfulfilled, you are feeling abused, you are feeling alone in a relationship, then it's time to leave. And I would especially say take time to be by yourself. I don't know that's something we talk about enough. Don't be so alone that you you experience avoidant attachment, but learn how to find the things you enjoy doing, because then you will know what you are looking for in a partner.
I love that. Yeah, definitely. Hands down.
And I'm 30 and just starting to do that. So it's like a real wild ride.
Yeah. So I think if I would go back, I would tell myself, wait for him because he's coming. That was something that was really hard for me to understand at 15, because every time we broke up, I'd be like, oh my God, that's it. I have no other prospects. And, it was bad. I blubbered, and I would always need my go-to cure for any breakup. When it got really bad, my brother would have to come in from the city. But my go-to breakup food was always a Wendy's burger. Double burger with bacon on it. If somebody brought that to me, I'd be cured. Yeah, that was it. That's all I needed was a Baconator, and I was so solid. Now I don't eat red meat anymore, so that wouldn't work out. I'd have to find something new, plus I would be absolutely devastated if my relationship ended. So I'm not going to think about that. But yeah, I'd say he's there. I'd say that you don't deserve emotional abuse, which was something that I learned growing up. I thought that's what love was, when somebody emotionally abused the other person. I thought that's how somebody showed their affection, because I saw that from my parents. That's not how you show affection and love. So I would tell myself that that's not okay. And also the fact that I am okay. Like, I may be weird and strange, but like those are the good parts about me too. I got bashed a lot for being weird. And then one day, my really good friend Sarah, I always thank her for this, was like, come, darling, come to me. You are allowed to be weird. And I was like, oh. So really, like you were saying, find yourself and be okay with yourself as an individual, and be self-aware of the things that you want and that you bring to a relationship. I was just telling somebody that they need to make deal breakers, right? A list of them. That's really important, because sometimes you get carried away. But,
and don't go crazy on the deal, right? Yeah. That's why you say you call them deal breakers, because there's absolutely no need to create such an intense, tight list.
No.
That
you miss somebody who's literally perfect for you.
You have to have compromise. Yeah. And that's not, I think compromise often gets a dirty rap. Yeah. I think compromise doesn't mean compromising your values. Mm-hmm. It's just compromising little things, right? Like, you like pickles on your sandwich and he doesn't.
Yeah, or who does the dishes at night.
Right. You're not going to break up with the person because how dare you like olives. Yeah. So things like that, just to clarify.
Yeah. So my biggest thing is, I think you are enough, as is this person is enough. I think I would have loved to hear that at 15.
Well, and you know what? That actually makes me think of where it's if you can't handle me at my worst, you don't deserve me at my best. Mm-hmm. False.
You don't think that's true?
Absolutely not.
Okay.
Because if you're at your worst and your partner is just continuing to be that's okay, they're not helping you grow.
Oh, see, I don't take it that way.
Oh, that's how I take it.
I don't take it that way.
So I take it as my worst, I can just be a total biatch to you, and you're supposed to just take it. I think you need to have some form of self-awareness about your learned behaviors, the toxic ones, the ones that no longer serve you. I think what that phrase is really meant to be is if you struggle, and I'll use me for example, mental health is really, really important to me. And the dynamic shift of me and my partner in the beginning, when all of it, because we've known each other since high school. So he saw me kind of in this, I cried all the time, I was and then we made jokes how I was so anxious and nervous all the time. But then it really came to a head, and it really became something that was impacting my day-to-day life, and he didn't understand it. And that was no fault of his. And we've since talked, and I said, what would you go back and do different? And he said, I would try to be more understanding. Because I didn't know what was going on, and I was scared. And that is something that you have to, and I have to learn to let go, because from time to time I will bring it up because it still hurt me that I didn't feel supported. But now, because of communication, because I explain my recovery journey through anxiety, through OCD, through depression, he is more aware. And so that line of communication is open. And that is a very important thing for me. So he sees me at my worst, but he will never put up with
abuse.
Yeah. Right? Yeah. Like, and with a partner, I don't want to say that it's like the easiest thing in the world.
What, being with somebody else?
No, well, obviously no. But I don't want to say it's the easiest thing in the world to work through issues with a partner, but it's a different feeling.
Well, it's a different feeling versus companion versus passionate love.
Right,
working
like when
through
you're
something with somebody.
Right,
yeah.
Like when you're lusty with someone, working through those issues is
difficult. It's like hitting a wall.
But it also feels very like dramatic, like
yeah.
you're in some sort of a movie and you're running and kissing and making out in the rain.
Yeah.
Whereas with The Notebook, with companionship love, I find that sometimes I'm just like, I'm tired and we're holding each other, but we're like upset about something. But I know that it's going to work out, and he knows it's going to work out, and that we are going to work on it together. And it's a lack of feeling uneasy is the best way I can describe it. And it's probably different for everyone. But for me, how I know that it's more companion based is because there's that lack of total, like, full body, like I'm gonna vomit. It's more just like, oh, I want to get back to feeling good with you. But it doesn't feel all consuming.
I love it. I loved this conversation. Yeah, I feel like we could have gone on for a long time, most likely, because we've both been through so many relationships. So maybe we'll do like a part 2, and we'll like go more into depth on our relationships and the things that we've
down below if that's something you're interested in. And as our little wrap up here, we want to give you some homework. I want you to make a list of what your values are. What are your non-negotiables in relationships? List them down below in the comments. Shoot us a DM over at Instagram, over at Cycle Chats, exactly how it's spelled.
All lowercase,
no space. And you can also find our blog to kind of get to know a little bit more about us over at www.cyclechats.com. You can also join our newsletter to find out more about when we post and other special things that pop up. You'll be the first to be notified to join our beautiful community of Cycle Cats. Thank you so much for joining us. And, I hope you sync up with us next time.
Bye, everyone.
Dude, this light is so bright that every time I look at you, it's just like, ah.
Angel. I am an angel.